so perplexed by people who are just completely drawn into sensationalizing, crimes and evil acts, and they become like obsessed and consumed with all of it. And even the people that like claim to be righteous or claim to be wanting to seek truth or wanting to seek answers, whether it's about, a prolific human mover or political corruption or whatever it is, what I have noticed is like the people that are the loudest about this, and even the people that appear to be on opposing sides, neither one is really making any contribution to a solution. And in terms of like Charlie Kirk, like, are any of the people that make podcasts about Charlie Kirk aware that Christians are still being targeted in America in 2026, like myself? Like, all of the disgusting behavior that is happening, the human sacrifice, the theft, the fraud. This is why I've started to give the direction of understanding the spirit that you're fighting against, because you can recognize the pattern of the spirit. And most people have had an interaction with a narcissist. God sort of primed this wheel for all of us when this like wave of understanding narcissism and codependency and self-love and healing, just because some people chose to take that some direction, and then of course, just like the devil always does and the spirit will always do, will manifest and try to perverse whatever movement God is bringing in for an opportunity for healing. So anybody who is still playing the perpetual victim as a codependent and didn't take the steps necessary to heal, or anybody that is avoiding denial about it or avoiding it or pretending like it didn't exist, they're only doing themselves a disservice, and they're the ones that are staying stuck in that pattern. And obviously, because of my physical circumstances and the extreme effort to continue blocking me, to be able to steal from me, to be able to get away with fraud, when I'm presenting very obvious, tangible evidence of what I'm speaking on, like my content being blocked and flagged, people impersonating me, like using my actual full name. I have videos of this, showing videos of the same vehicle stalking me, showing videos of FBI, NSA, and Stingray, which, for any of you that don't know, that is government-issued technology used to intercept your data. Illegal investigations into somebody who's just living her life. A single, celibate, sober person just living her life. Not hurting anybody, not doing anything wrong. A business owner who built everything on her own with just God. Somebody just generously giving, not looking to be an influencer, not looking to chase any clout, just healing and moving forward and sharing her wisdom. And for that, I'm blocked from even having the ability to generate an income. Now, thankfully, I was able to finally secure a position and have some dear friends of mine come closer to me in an effort to support me, but it's still a struggle. And every time I make a little headway, these disgusting monsters, this cult that will not leave me alone, and some estranged family members that want to continue to hide their debauchery and who they really are, because they're more concerned about hiding who they really are and the things that they have done wrong than telling the truth. But in an effort to do that, they have to violate my civil and human rights repeatedly, over and over and over again. And nobody understands the damage that somebody impersonating you, like this disgusting, highly filtered monster, literally trying to live their life as me, wear my skin, still to this day. This person has not taken accountability, as far as I'm aware, has not been held accountable. Why? I don't know, because it's not my responsibility to do that. That's the Department of Justice's responsibility to protect victims, to bring justice to victims. But for some reason, I still haven't received that. But these monsters can continue to use my identity, continue to exploit my content, run my platforms as me, people I don't even know. Once again, don't know. None of them can talk to me face to face. They can't jump on a FaceTime with me. When people are being used, like any of the people that I've posted videos on that are using my name, my brand, my actual name, my brand, my actual brand I built alone, an LLC, a legal brand, they have no connection to me. To remember, all of this for me personally was after decades of trauma and abuse and healing through all of that, like an intentional transformational healing period where I worked with a financial person, I worked with a therapist, a psychiatrist, my church, a spiritual school, like 2 years of closing out cycles and healing and forgiveness and studying intentionally, and while being judged and gossiped about. Back, unbeknownst to me, so disgusting degenerates can get away with the fraud and their plan to sacrifice me, take me from my 11-year-old son, and all while they're hunting me too, and I'm just in my lane, have nothing to do with any of these people. They're just monster liars. And what happened most recently with this illegal civil probate order that my estranged mother, whom I've had 5 conversations with in 5 years. How somebody you've been estranged from for 5 years, you've had maybe 5 conversations with, and I had to estrange from her because I healed. And during that healing period, I was able to heal the trauma from what she caused when I was 10 years old. And she picked me up from my dad's house, the man that she divorced, who chose to raise me after she had an adulterous affair and conceived me from that affair. And so he made the choice to raise me. And while he was raising me, she picked me up from his home and took me to a psychiatric hospital, Laurelwood. And there she proceeded to lie, make false claims that my father had SA'd me, which he never did. The man that chose to stay married to her after she had an adulterous affair. This is the person leading a witch hunt. I forgave her. I offered her the opportunity to know that she was forgiven from me. Any forgiveness or anything else she was holding on to personally was between her and God. I made peace with that. And then I set clear expectations and boundaries to be able to have a civil relationship with me and still have a relationship with boundaries with my children still. And it was her choice to not respect those boundaries. It was her choice to continue to try to undermine me, continue to drive lies about me, continue to spread a misinformation campaign and butt into places that she doesn't belong, continue to try to groom both of my children, but in particular my daughter. And when another adult outside of your household is creating an opportunity for your children to feel like they don't have to respect you, if you're trying to discipline your children by taking away things, not allowing them to participate in things, take their devices, typical, normal, healthy consequences and boundaries that I didn't have as a child because my mother wasn't present. She was busy running the town with a lot of married men. She doesn't want people to know about Mary Grace Rollins Brochet Pellegrino from Strongsville, Ohio. Somehow managed, allegedly, right? Because I was never even allowed to see the civil order. This is all going to bite them in the ass. And in a way, it's so extreme and so obvious that it almost is like the worst possible thing they could have done. Because, well, one, everything that I am aware that was potentially in that order, just from what I've heard from other people, was a lie. Even the officers that came and detained me illegally can attest to the fact that I wasn't living out of a U-Haul. They had to knock on a door. And the progress that I had made then, which is why she did this, because I was making progress, because I was able to secure shelter and housing, focused on exactly the task that I have to do, which I have been doing this entire time, to the danger to themselves, to the point that you would go into a probate court and seek an order, a civil warrant, to have their human and civil rights taken away, have them detained behind their back. Again, keep in mind, this is somebody I'm estranged from. So how she has any insight is a mystery. That in itself, those very facts, should let anybody know that whatever was said was either a lie, gossip, or secondhand information, because there's no actual facts, because nothing within it was true. And then even what she's trying to lie and say that she was told from the doctors who told her, we can't give you any information. You can't keep calling here. But now perpetuate a lie instead of just telling the truth and staying in her lane. Because when you have decades upon decades of somebody trying to destroy you, somebody who has made you their target because your light irritates their demons, because you didn't fit into the narrative that this monster has been creating my entire life. And the hardest part with people, and I have a lot of empathy for this, is because what just naturally people do is they project their experience, both bad and good, but even in good situations, like people that are close with their parents, like, you know, they have good mothers and fathers and they have family that are there for them and would support them through a hardship. You know, anybody else that went to their family is like, I'm concerned I might be being human moved, or I'm concerned that I'm being stalked. And then they show them very clear evidence that there are people impersonating them online and that their devices have been hacked. A normal, healthy, loving family would protect that person, especially if that person was single, they were celibate, they built a business on their own, they have no history of mental illness, they're a great parent who has always taken care of their children, and never had any history of drug abuse, never had any history of any struggle whatsoever, really, other than natural life struggle, like my father passing away, my daughter's father, you know, like typical things, losing a job here or there. These are normal life things. These aren't symptoms of mental illness. These aren't symptoms of addiction. These are normal things. That is the level of projection and hate that I have had to manage on a pretty regular basis because somebody else wants to get away with being a pathological demon, a fully possessed demon. But also, never really asked anybody for anything. Never have I asked anybody of anything, and if I have, it's been so minuscule that it hasn't stood out for me really, but in particular, money. You know, I've always been somebody just so fiercely independent, I didn't want to have to ask anybody for money, but even now, more recently, maybe my family is omitting this part as well, asking them for help and then having them decline. So if you're declining the help that somebody is asking for, and you just want to project that you have offered some help, which you have not offered, I wouldn't have to worry about where I'm going to sleep every night, what I'm going to eat every day. I wouldn't have to continuously be trying to build up the small foundation that I keep having to recreate because they're still stalking and watching me for some forsaken reason. We call that a monitoring spirit. When you are not supporting, when you are not showing compassion for, when you are doing nothing to help someone, but you continuously gossip and judge that lie and pass judgment on somebody. When you weaponize mental illness, which is truly so sick about this situation, you know, every single person that I'm aware of, my mother included, my daughter also included, if somebody truly genuinely has issues with depression, anxiety, any kind of mental illness whatsoever, when family is being loving and supportive, friends, when they're being loving and supportive, that isn't something they're leveraging in any kind of like opposition towards you. They're not trying to confine you to a hospital and get some diagnosis pinned on you so that you have an excuse for why you withheld money, why you cut somebody out of an inheritance, which I've never received anything from multiple people whom other family members have now confirmed for me they did. So they're also perplexed, which means they were lied to as well. My Aunt Dolores, my dad's sister, and my grandfather Silvio, and, you know, the selling of my aunt's house allegedly, and the oil fracking they're doing. I've never received any of that. And then when I ask for the information on it, I'm avoided. And see, they don't, it's like people hate the truth. They hate being confronted with the truth. But I'm not going to continue to have my life destroyed. I'm not going to continue to be stalked. I'm not going to continue to not be able to live in my purpose because estranged family, people who made the mistake of misjudging me and then they took action. This is where they screwed up. They took action on that misjudgment. And not only was it just a misjudgment, but it was an intentional act to harm. And you know this, and this is how you know this. Because you can't 3 weeks ago go get a illegal civil probate order to have my human and civil rights taken away from me. Y'all, for an entire week I was confined, gaslit, for no actual reason. No reason to even have me there. Even the nurses and the doctors in there were perplexed. But again, because I'm used by God in this way, and our world has been so deceived by false prophets, by social media, clout chasing Christians, and they create this perception of what it means to truly be used by God, what it means to be prophetic, what it means to be anointed, have spiritual gifts. But just like Jesus, and just like any true spiritualist or spiritual leader, we learn, we gain the wisdom and the lessons through our lives, through our testimonies. And that's why when I speak, it lands with other people. That's what makes me a healer. That's what gives me the protection and the favor with God, because I'm not being selfish about it, and I'm not going to allow the actions of really disgusting, evil behavior. People who can't even take accountability and admit that they were wrong. And furthermore, nobody in my family right now, because once again, now that I have another job and I'm just on the precipice of having regular income, and with my door dashing, they knew that that was going to propel me forward even more. It's like every effort isn't working, but instead of surrendering, instead of just stopping, admitting you're wrong, and leaving me alone, leaving a almost 45-year-old woman to live her life. And it's like, I wouldn't even be speaking about this still if it wasn't still happening to me. And it's easy for people to look the other way, but you have to understand, these people are still going to exist. This spirit is still going to exist. This type of abuse and trauma, and the Department of Justice not doing anything to stop it, is still going to exist. That's why I keep asking people to share my message, because they keep blocking my voice. And the truth shows just how covert and manipulative, and the lengths that these dark, controlling networks will go to try to stop somebody from having even prospering, living their life. Like the ability to have constitutional rights, because there are a group of dark ass, evil ass people that were so committed to being able to live off of my money, live off of my energy, continue to do voodoo on me, which, by the way, the intentional infliction of trauma. So creating circumstances that will bring somebody grief, sadness, hurt them, keep them low, like slandering their name, like making up lies, especially regarding their children, like taking their child away for no reason. There's no reason why my son shouldn't be allowed to communicate with me right now. And that's abusing a child. Abruptly taking a child from their mother, just like my mother did to me. This blueprint is so basic, I just happen to know it so well, which is what she hates, because I see her clearly. Projecting their family experience makes it even that much harder, instead of just having compassion for people, which is interesting and ironic at the same time, because a few years ago, when I was getting ready to sell my house, and I was looking into building tiny home communities, or investing in tiny home communities, and in Texas actually, and coming to understand that the lack of family support, family abandonment, just family loss, people, their only child, and they've lost both of their parents. These are the people that are most vulnerable and most at risk. And so this is a part of why these nasty creatures use this. And if that weren't the case, if you have enough love for a sibling, a child, a parent, to walk your ass into a probate court to try to get a civil order to have that person confined and have their human civil rights, a few weeks later, you don't want to make any financial contribution when I'm locked out of one of my sources of income, which was DoorDash, because they blocked my DoorDash account. They locked me out of my DoorDash account for no reason. I made a recording of this. Like I said, I've documented this whole experience so people can understand the lengths. They have no legitimate reason for doing this.
By selecting I am not sure in the form. Please also be informed, just to set your expectation. Dasher appeals can take up to 10 business days to be reviewed by the team. The 10 days do not include weekends and holidays as well. And once the team has made the decision on the appeal, you will receive an email with more details.
But wait, so you deactivated my account for no reason?
No, please be informed that I do not have a visibility of the information why it got deactivated. That's why I'll be following up an email to you so that you may know you will be providing those information on the email that I'll be sending you.
I just received like silver status through DoorDash, so this makes absolutely no sense. And for me to call and wait on hold for like 20 minutes, only be told that you have no idea why my account is deactivated and you're not going to fix it.
Please be informed that I also do not have details regarding the deactivation. Please be informed also that it is already out of my scope. I have just documented everything here on my end. That's why I've escalated to our internal team. So from here, they just advised, they have advised to make an appeal and on the form that I will be sending you via email.
Okay, but I'm just really confused as to like how you deactivate a completely legitimate account for no reason, and you can't even provide a reason when somebody calls. Like if you don't have the visibility to provide a reason, and not only that, but I can't even log in to get my earnings. Like there's other things within the application I should still have access to.
I do understand that, and as much as I would love to help you with this, please do understand that this is already out of my scope, and I would just advise to forward this to our internal team so that you may know the details regarding the deactivation.
Well, okay, well, why can you not escalate it to the people that have the power to answer that now?
Yeah, we do not. I do know that you wanted to resolve it as soon as possible, but we do not have a way to transfer over to those to our team.
So you delete, you deactivate a completely legitimate account with no strikes for no reason. You can't provide a reason, and you have no way to escalate it to anybody that can provide a reason. And you're claiming you're going to send an email with the reason, but you have no reason, you have no way to provide me that reason now. So I don't know how you would even send an email if you have no access to the reason. So how would you send an email?
Actually, it is, as I mentioned, it is not an email with the reason. I'll be sending an email where you can file an appeal for the deactivation. I can only escalate you to one of our managers.
Okay, well you can go ahead and escalate me to a manager then, because it seems pretty wrong that you would just deactivate somebody's account in good standing with no legitimate reason to do so.
Okay, all right.
And I have silver status with you guys, so there's legitimately no reason to do that. And if there was a legitimate reason, I'm sure you would provide it.
Okay, I'll just go ahead and transfer you over, so please stay with me, okay? I just need to stay on the line.
Okay, thank you. They originally told me it was for some random background check, and I'm like, okay, well, nothing's changed. Go right ahead. I don't care. They never even requested a background check. And so they can't even provide a reason when you have a DoorDash account where you're earning $300 or $400 extra a week. When you're trying to rebuild your foundation, that's pretty significant. But again, these are the subtle blocks that people don't consider that keep a lot of people afloat, not just me. So all of these people, my brother Silvio, my disgusting mother, all of these people who had the audacity to project out at me, share your opinion intentionally in a way to try to contribute to an illegal civil warrant to take away somebody's human rights. Force a grown-ass adult just out here living her life, having a basic financial hardship that none of my family has donated or contributed to, trying to support and help me through. And even when where I was just living, for whatever reason, they've drawn some narrative that I wasn't helping or supporting or contributing to that. But if they want to keep driving that narrative, they weren't the only ones that was recording. Again, I've documented this entire experience. And eventually, the truth always comes out. And it doesn't matter, because none of that should be conditional anyways. But what's most important is, you went and did that, claiming some kind of concern. But right now, because of that, they're concerned enough to go get a probate order, they should be concerned enough about, their sister, their mother, their friend sleeping on the street. Making false claims. Like, what is the Inquisition about anyways? Like I've said this entire time, I have no idea what any of these people are hoping to accomplish. They projected a narrative at me that I did not fit into. Then they stalked and watched and were hoping they could find some kind of blackmail, some kind of reason or justification or to defend their action. And there's nothing. And instead of admitting that there's nothing, instead of being honest, instead of reaching out to me like they should be, instead of ever even offering an apology, making any attempt to reconcile, with the exception of my sister, whom I've spoken with, and my brother Silvio, who I spoke with briefly. But they all have their own situation going on, and I don't hold it against them either. If they are projecting out an opinion, if they are sharing that opinion with other people, that is what we call gossip. And if it is deliberate around a person whom they are not protecting or providing for, we call that a monitoring spirit. That is exactly the definition of a monitoring spirit. That is a dark attachment, and paired with gossip, that even further supports that. And probably want to continue to deny their karma. Lord only knows. I'm sure they're making their karma my fault also in some way, because these are perpetual victims who have no ability to self-reflect. They have no ability to take accountability. They have people who have never had to be wrong in their life don't like admitting that they're wrong, unfortunately. And I'm not in control of that. And I'm also not bitter or angry about it, because I have approached the throne of grace and I have given it to God. And I let God handle it. And trust me, God is going to handle this. He always does. He always does. Right now I'm focused on me and my shelter. So again, if you can donate anything to these Cash Apps, please send an email if you do donate something, in case, there's a parasite, narc, sick, twisted bitch Cash App that also wants to continue to steal from me. Hopefully that situation, I don't know how many lawsuits they have to deal with before they realize you probably should monitor your employees a little bit more closely. I don't understand how these CEOs are allowing these people are crushing your companies. It's like you're losing your integrity because you have vermin working for you with no integrity. But whatever. If you could donate anything, I am eternally grateful. And it's good catching up. Peace be with you.